and welcome back to another Styling with Sam. Today we are back in my kitchen and we are actually talking about all things open shelving, which is something that is a huge trend right now and a lot of people have incorporated into their kitchen renovations or even into their home renovations. This is actually our coffee nook. So what I'm styling today is a little bit more geared towards that, as well as geared towards more decor and everyday decor that I will pass by every day in my kitchen here. But your open shelving might look different for you. You might have it more so in your kitchen in replace of your upper cupboards, or maybe you have some built-ins that you need to style, all that kind of stuff. Some of these tips and tricks can definitely cross over to that. I will say, if you are having some open shelvings in your kitchen, think practical, think useful. You know, maybe you need to splurge and treat yourself to some really pretty new dishes. That way they're always on the shelf, easy for you to grab, but they're really pretty to look at too. And then you can incorporate some of these tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you guys today. So without further ado, let's get styling. Okay, the first thing I want you to start thinking about is your grouping of colors and textures. And the best and easy way to do that is to grab a table, have it close by. I'm using my kitchen island right now, and just have everything that you want to play with out on your island. If you feel like you have enough, you probably don't, because styling shelves is all about layers and adding and adding and adding. So pull everything you can from your own home, or if you went and did some shopping, and have it all on the table there for you, and start thinking about your grouping. So one thing that I like to think about with shelving is I almost like to work in a bit of a zigzag pattern. And this works if you only have 2 shelves like I have here, or if you have 3 or 4 or 5. And when I say zigzag, is we almost want one corner to almost mirror the bottom other corner, and vice versa. And I want you to think about groupings of your colors and your textures. So I brought this down because you guys know my kitchen. I am very copper, I'm very brass, I'm very kind of like antique vintage in my kitchen. So when I found these canisters, I nearly died, because they are literally my kitchen in a canister. I have 4 different heights and stuff, so I knew these were going to be the jumping off point for my open shelves today. They honestly have lived here ever since I brought them home. They're just like the perfect addition. So I'm going to show you what I mean by, grab the bigger one here, what I mean about grouping your colors and your textures. So I'm going to start off with my top right corner here with these copper canisters. Now, like I said, I have 2 smaller ones, and they are going to be my focal point down here. So you can kind of see that I brought these flush with the shelf, and these ones I'm actually going to stagger a little bit with one another. And that is just to create depth and stuff in your shelving. But when something's like so high up, you don't have to worry necessarily about making depth, because it's so high you can't really almost see the depth just looking at the shelf. So I like to bring things pretty much to the front of the shelf when it's a really, really high one. But when it's a low one like this, if you can kind of stagger it a little bit, that just creates different depth and a little bit more visual interest in your shelf. My next grouping is going to be all about natural elements. So we're bringing in a little bit of rattan. We are bringing in some very like organic feeling stone kind of vessels. And then we are also bringing in some greenery. You guys know this basket. It has been in the store many, many times. Look, I still have the price tag on it. I never went back to the store after coming to my home. But I just want to like emphasize this open area I have here above my shelf. I have lots of space to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play with some faux florals. Again, you guys have seen these many times in the store. This is our seeded eucalyptus, and then I mixed also in some of our dollar eucalyptus. I love the 2 of them together because it can really fill out your vessel quite nicely. So I'm just going to kind of have those perfectly styled, just kind of shooting out a little bit wild, but just making sure that everything looks pretty even. And this is actually going to go way up here. When it helps being really tall, you can do all these things. But I am going to kind of tuck the basket a little bit behind this vessel here. Might just stagger it a little bit. But that way I now have kind of 2 different groupings of my shelves here. So I have my copper, my brass, which is my metallic, my very shiny. And then I also have some natural elements in the gray wicker basket, as well as the faux eucalyptus stems. Now to kind of counter out that zigzag, right? We have our zigzag coming here, and now we need our zigzag coming down here. I have this really cute antique piece. I'm sorry, you guys are gonna fall in love with this because it is just so darling. But I antiqued this again many years ago, and I use it all the time in my decor. And then I have this shamrock plant that I have from St. Patrick's Day, actually, that is still just thriving. So I just love how it's kind of nice and whimsical. So I know I'm probably going to have that styled there somewhere because I need to finish off my zigzag pattern here. Now, obviously this looks very sad and very lonely here on the shelf, and we are going to add in another layer, and you guys probably guessed it. It's my favorite things to use, and that is books. So we are going to utilize our cookbooks here. We are in the kitchen. You know, that way they are easy to grab. You can thrift really great cookbooks too. You know, Better Homes and Gardens has a great line that has been around since the 90s. I have many of those thrifted as well. But for right now, we're gonna use my Magnolia ones. I have some Half Baked Harvest, Jillian Harris one, Rosie Dakin's, all those great names. And they're really pretty to look at, which is great. So what I'm doing here is when you are styling your books, always think about what is going to be showing, what color is going to be showing. So you can see the back of these two books. One's very light and one's very dark. I have a very light kitchen, so I want the light one to be facing out. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna style these right there. And see how that just adds a whole other layer and a whole other vibe to the shelf here. Now I'm gonna take it a step further. I'm just gonna keep rocking and rolling here. I'm going to add some cookbooks underneath this plant. And you can kind of create its own little vibe here, which is great. That looks so good. Okay, so we have some cookbooks. They're similar colors. This is vibing off of this, the two creams, the dark greens pulling the green from the plants. I feel like I need something over here though. So let me see what I can go find. Okay, again, I'm sorry. I'm bringing in so many things that I have antiqued over my travels over the years, but this is to give you guys inspo. I've seen many newer versions of this kind of scale out and about, but I love this scale and I really want to incorporate it here somehow. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to have that guy almost kind of pushed almost right to the back actually. This guy's going to be pushed back a little bit too. And then that's just going to be kind of layered in front of it. Push this a little bit back here. I think I like this guy. What do you guys think? I think it looks really good because it's really pulling off all of the different vibes and the different colors. These are similar textures for sure, but we do have a bit of a color difference here, so that's why I'm okay with it like that. I have one more piece we're gonna add actually, just one more, maybe two more. Okay, again, another really cute little antiqued item, this little snuffer. It's copper and brass. I couldn't resist. And one thing that I really want to add to these shelves is this brass railing that you see. I want to add it so bad, but it's very expensive. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that for sure. But one more thing that I was thinking, and you know, there's a bunch of different ways we can do this. So you guys can see there's a little bit of blank space up here. Okay, so there's a couple different things we could do. We could layer in some cutting boards. So it's always a great idea to grab some smaller cutting boards for this reason when you're out shopping. Or we could bring something up in this little vignette here. So what I'm thinking we're gonna do is we're gonna grab, and this is why having everything nice and close for you is so great, because then you can just grab things and play with it. Now I have a feeling this is too, yeah, it's way too tall, which is not ideal, but we're gonna try something here. I don't know if I wanna just like layer this back here. I don't know. No, that's not it. Can I fit it at all? No, I can't fit it at all. Okay, this is a scratch, which sometimes happens. But I do have another idea. I have two more books here, okay? I have these pretty little books. And what I think I'm gonna do to kind of, like I mentioned, maybe bring some height, is we're gonna add a couple more books to this. And we are going to see if that just brings a little bit more height to this plant. Too much height? Okay, I don't like this blue book here. Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. See, sometimes you just have to edit it. You have to edit your shelf here. But I love that because it gives my plant a little bit more height than this. I feel like they were just like a little bit too close. And that's what we're trying to do, is create different heights, different visual interests, and different depths to your styling shelves. But I just love, I think that was the fit there. I'm just gonna squeeze this plant around here. I've got my little snuffer just to add a little bit of bling down over here. And I think that is great. I think I love that. Again, it's a little bit functional where my cookbooks are easy for me to grab. This is where my coffee literally lives. I'll show you guys. It's a little empty right now, but that's where my coffee lives. And I also have some tea bags in here too. Well, that is empty too, but there is usually tea bags. I'm not a huge tea drinker actually, but when I have when I have my mom and my sister over, I always need to have tea handy. But so that way it's a little bit functional. I have this beautiful plant to look at and care for. I'm getting lots of natural light here. We have a big bay window here. So that plant survives and thrives in that little section because it gets a lot of afternoon sun, which is great. But you could incorporate a faux plant or even a faux small vessel of, you know, some smaller eucalyptus or some smaller similar greenery vibes in a little vessel there just to kind of make everything flow. But you guys, that is basically kind of shelf styling 101. And I know it's a smaller shelf. You might have a much bigger shelf at home. But don't put so much pressure on yourself. It takes a while to gather things, but think in your kitchen to make it practical, to make it functional, but also still beautiful. You can have some beautiful dishes that you guys use every day styled on your shelves with some really pretty cups or maybe your wine glasses, and then incorporate things like books, like plants in small vessels and small vases. You know, maybe you have a really cool salt and pepper shaker. You know, you have a little framed print that you can lean up against the back of the shelves. So there's so many different things you can do for sure. But it all takes time, obviously gathering everything and having everything out and ready for you to start styling. So I hope this helps you in your shelf styling journey. I love my little coffee nook shelves here. I'm so glad I did them about two years ago when we renovated our kitchen. This is a very high traffic area. You guys know me, I love my coffee. So having something pretty to look at every day is really important to me, and it brings me a lot of joy every day, which is great. So anyway, guys, I hope you loved this Styling with Sam series. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll chat real soon.